There was a time when I would have trusted my little sister with my life. I was her big sister, her protector, and when our parents passed away, that bond only got tighter. We were all we had, or so I thought. My name is Britney Spears, and I'm 30 years old. I'm a single mom. I deliver packages for a living, hustle every hour of the day, and pour every ounce of love I have into my 3-year-old son, Noah. He's my whole world. My reason for waking up. My reason for pushing through even when I'm bone-tired and my back screams from lifting boxes all day. And the betrayal I'm about to tell you, what my own sister did, shook the very ground I walked on. It all started quietly, subtly. The kind of quiet that lingers before a storm. My younger sister Olivia was the one who used to braid my hair at night when we were kids. She was 2 years younger, sharp as a whip, always chasing after my footsteps. I was the responsible one, the one who stayed behind to take care of things when our parents died in a car accident. She left town, traveled, chased opportunities abroad. We were close, but not without tension. She was the golden child growing up, at least in our extended family's eyes. Pretty, ambitious, confident. I was the quiet one, the one who followed the rules. When I got pregnant with Noah, it was a shock to everyone. I had just turned 27, recently single, and Olivia didn't hide her disapproval. "You're going to raise a baby alone?" she asked me bluntly. "How are you going to afford that?" I shrugged, one hand resting on my belly. "I'll figure it out." I always did. And I did. I worked like hell. I took night shifts, extra routes, missed sleep, skipped meals, but Noah never lacked a thing. And slowly, Olivia softened. She started calling more, sending gifts from Germany where she had settled. On Noah's 2nd birthday, she flew back just to surprise him. She held him close and whispered, "You're perfect." I remember that night. We sat on the porch after Noah fell asleep. She looked at me and said, "If I could have a child, I'd want one exactly like him." That moment still haunts me, because I didn't know then what was hiding behind that look in her eyes. A few months after that, Olivia told me she was staying in the States longer. She said she wanted to be close to family again, that she missed her roots. I was thrilled. Noah loved his aunt, and frankly, I was relieved to have another adult around. Being a single mom is rewarding, but it's also lonely, exhausting. At first, she helped in small ways, picking Noah up from daycare, bringing dinner over on days I had double shifts, playing with him while I folded laundry. Then she started offering to babysit more often. "Go take a nap, Brit," she'd say, waving me off. "I've got him. Go sleep. You look like a zombie." And I'd smile gratefully, because she was right. I was running on fumes. But the little things began to add up. She started correcting the way I talked to Noah, telling me he shouldn't eat certain foods, that he needed more stimulation or less screen time, even though I was already doing everything I could. At first, I chalked it up to sibling dynamics, but then she said something that froze me. "You know, if you ever felt overwhelmed, I could always take Noah for a while, just so you could reset." I laughed awkwardly. "What, like for the weekend?" She smiled but didn't answer. I brushed it off. Then one Friday night, everything changed. I came home from a 12-hour shift. My feet ached, my shoulders were sore, and all I wanted was to crawl into bed and cuddle Noah. But when I opened the door, the house was silent. No toys on the floor, no cartoons playing, no Olivia, no Noah. At first, I assumed they were at the park. But hours passed. I called, texted, nothing. Panic grew in my chest. By midnight, I was calling hospitals. By 1 a.m., I was at the police station. "They're probably fine," the officer said gently. "Family members often take kids for a visit without notifying the parent. Happens more often than you think." "No," I said, shaking my head. "Not Olivia. She knows better. She knows not to leave without telling me. Something is wrong." They filed a report, but it felt like they didn't take it seriously. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I got a message. It was from Olivia. A single line. "Don't freak out. We're safe. Just needed a little space." My blood went cold. She had taken my son, my baby. And she had the audacity to say, "Don't freak out"? I called her 100 times, no answer. I sent message after message. "Where are you?" "Is Noah okay?" "Please, Liv, just talk to me." Nothing. That's when I remembered her passport and Noah's. Months ago, Olivia had offered to renew Noah's passport for me, saying she had a friend at the agency who could expedite it. I'd been so busy with work, I said sure, handed her the documents, and didn't think about it again. My hands were shaking as I opened the drawer where I usually kept it. Empty. Gone. That's when the full truth hit me. She wasn't just watching him. She was trying to take him. Abroad. Permanently. I called the police again, this time shaking with rage. "She's kidnapping my son," I said, voice cracking. "She has his passport. She's leaving the country. They moved fast after that. An alert went out. A team was dispatched to the local airport, and I raced there myself, praying I wasn't too late. I called Alex, my boyfriend of 6 months. He worked in law enforcement, and when I told him what happened, he didn't hesitate. "I'm coming to the airport. Stay calm. We'll find them." I didn't know how I kept breathing. My thoughts were spinning. Visions of Noah crying in a plane seat, calling for me, trapped in another country, flooded my mind. How could she do this? Why? And then I remembered that night on the porch. If I could have a child, I'd want one exactly like him. She hadn't meant it as a compliment. She meant it as a plan. The airport was packed. I pushed through the crowd, ignoring the looks, the noise, the announcements echoing overhead. I didn't care about anything except finding my son. The police had already contacted airport security, but it felt like things were moving too slow. Every second felt like sand slipping through my fingers. Alex met me just outside security. His presence alone steadied me. He wasn't just my boyfriend. He was a trained investigator, calm, focused, and right now, the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. "She hasn't boarded a flight yet," he said. "They flagged both her name and Noah's passport. If she tries to check in, we'll know." That gave me a tiny sliver of hope, but my heart was still pounding like a drum inside my chest. "I can't believe she'd do this," I said. "I trusted her. I let her in. She's my sister." "She crossed a line," Alex said gently. "You didn't do anything wrong, but now we stop this. Now we get him back." I nodded, though my throat felt like it was closing. We split up, checking different terminals. I darted down corridors, scanned faces in food courts, peered into family restrooms and corners of waiting areas. I must have shouted Noah's name 50 times. My voice was hoarse, but I didn't care. And then I saw them. Across the glass divider near the international terminal, Olivia and Noah. She was holding his hand, trying to look casual, as if she were just any traveler waiting for a flight. But I knew better. I didn't think. I ran. Security shouted at me to slow down, but I couldn't. I reached the gate just as she was stepping forward toward the counter. "Olivia!" I screamed. She turned, eyes wide. And in that moment, something broke between us. Not just trust, not just family. Something deeper, something ancient. She pulled Noah close, whispering something to him. But he saw me. His eyes lit up. "Mommy!" he cried, pulling away. I fell to my knees and wrapped my arms around him, sobbing. "My baby," I whispered, holding him so tightly I was afraid I'd never let go. By the time I looked up, airport police had surrounded us, and Olivia was crying. But not the tears of regret, tears of frustration, anger. They took us into a private room. Alex arrived shortly after, and the officers separated us for questioning. Noah was safe, that was all that mattered. But I still had to explain everything, prove that I was his mother, that Olivia had taken him without permission, that it was kidnapping no matter how sweetly she tried to wrap it. She said I was unstable, overworked, neglectful. "She leaves him with me all the time," she argued. "I've practically raised him these last few months. I just wanted to give him a better life." A better life? Was that what she told herself to sleep at night? I was livid. "No," I told the officers firmly. "She was trying to steal my child. She took his passport. She lied to me. She ran." That was enough. They didn't let her board that plane. They took her into custody. The drive home was silent. Noah fell asleep in the back seat, holding tightly to his stuffed elephant. Alex reached over and gently took my hand. "She won't hurt him again," he said. "It's over." But I didn't answer, because in my heart I knew it was far from over. The legal mess that followed was brutal. Olivia claimed she had my permission to take Noah. She produced messages, cherry-picked ones, that painted me as exhausted, overwhelmed, even resentful. Messages like, "I can't do this today," or "I wish someone else could just take him for a bit." And yes, I'd said those things. Out of fatigue, out of burnout. Like any mom would. But that didn't mean I wanted my child taken away. I had to hire a lawyer. I had to sit through interviews, evaluations, home visits. They checked my fridge, my cabinets, my routine. It felt humiliating. Like I had to prove I was a worthy mother just because someone tried to take my child from me. But I did it. And eventually the court ruled in my favor. Full custody. No visitation. Restraining order enforced. Olivia couldn't come within 200 feet of Noah or me. And yet I didn't feel relief. Not really. Because it was my sister. My sister. And that pain, it cuts deeper than anything else. I tried to explain it to Noah. He was too young to fully understand, but kids are more intuitive than we think. He asked about Aunt Liv once. "Is she mad at me?" he whispered. "No, baby," I said, brushing his hair from his forehead. "She just made a very big mistake, but that has nothing to do with you. Will she come back?" I paused. Then I said, "No, she won't, not for a long time." And he nodded as if that was enough. It had to be. Time passed. I threw myself into work, into motherhood, into rebuilding a sense of safety. Alex was my rock. He never pushed, never pressured, just showed up, helped cook dinner, played with Noah, sat with me when the nightmares came. He understood that healing doesn't follow a schedule, that even when the danger is gone, the fear lingers. I changed all the locks. I bought security cameras. I checked on Noah 4 or 5 times a night just to make sure he was still there. It took months before I could leave him with anyone again, even with Alex. But eventually, little by little, trust began to grow again. Not in others, in myself, in my ability to protect him, to protect us. The nightmares didn't stop right away. Sometimes I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced Noah was gone again. I'd run to his room and find him curled up, his little chest rising and falling with each breath, his fingers wrapped around that worn, stuffed elephant. It was only then that I'd let myself cry, softly, quietly, alone. I didn't want him to see me scared anymore. He deserved a mother who made him feel safe. So I started therapy. At first, it was just me. Talking to a stranger felt awkward, like trying to explain a story I hadn't fully processed myself. But my therapist, Marlene, was patient. She let the silence stretch when I needed it. She never rushed me. One day, she asked me something simple. "What does safety feel like to you, Britney?" I froze. I'd never thought of it that way. I realized I'd spent so long surviving, I didn't even know what peace looked like anymore. I began small, waking up before Noah to enjoy a quiet cup of tea, lighting candles in the evening and reading for just 10 minutes, playing music I loved, not just lullabies or cartoons. Alex started bringing me coffee on his way to work. He never stayed long, just long enough to kiss my forehead and tell me I was doing great. And little by little, I started believing him. He wasn't trying to fix me. He was just showing up, and that meant more than grand gestures ever could. One afternoon, Noah and I sat on a blanket in the backyard. He was coloring, his tongue poking out in concentration. I watched him, marveling at how quickly children bounce back. He still remembered what happened, but he didn't let it define him. He laughed. He played. He trusted me. "Mommy," he said, not looking up, "when I grow up, can I live in this house forever?" I smiled. "As long as you want, baby." "Good," he said, "because I like it here. It's warm." Warm. That one word hit me like a wave. After everything we'd been through, he still felt warmth. That meant I was doing something right. I hadn't spoken to Olivia since the day in court. She sent a few letters, none of which I opened. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. I knew enough from my lawyer. She had pled guilty to attempted international abduction of a minor. Her sentence wasn't long, but the damage she'd done went far beyond prison time. Sometimes I wondered what was going through her mind when she made that decision. Did she truly believe she was helping? Or did she just want to claim something that wasn't hers? Whatever her reasons, I couldn't carry them anymore. That was her burden. Mine was healing. Alex asked me out on a real date 6 months after everything happened. We'd been doing the quiet domestic rhythm for a while. Movies at home, grocery runs, helping with bedtime. But this time, he planned something. A dinner, a sitter, a reservation. I almost said no. Part of me still feared what would happen if I left Noah, even for 2 hours. But Marlene reminded me, healing doesn't mean never being afraid. It means choosing love anyway. So I said yes. And that night, something in me shifted. I wore a dress I hadn't touched in years, did my makeup, even curled my hair. When Alex saw me, his eyes lit up. "Wow," he whispered, "you look like you again." And for the first time in a long time, I felt it. We sat at a little Italian place tucked between a bookstore and a florist. Candlelight flickered between us, and for the first hour, we talked about everything except the past. We laughed. We flirted. We just were. Toward the end of his meal, he reached across the table and took my hand. "You don't have to answer this now," he said, "but I want to say it." My heart skipped. "I love you, Britney." I swallowed hard. "I love you too," I whispered. And just like that, a new chapter began. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was honest, because it was real. Noah loved having Alex around. He called him Rocket Man because Alex once zoomed him across the living room on his shoulders while singing Elton John. The name stuck. Every time Alex walked in the door, Noah would shout, "Rocket Man!" and leap into his arms. They built forts together, read bedtime stories, even cooked pancakes on Saturdays, which somehow always ended with flour in everyone's hair. It was chaos. It was magic. It was healing in its purest form. That winter I got promoted at work. It wasn't glamorous, just a shift into a supervisor role, but it meant better pay, more stability. I celebrated by buying new curtains and a proper coffee maker. Noah and I danced around the kitchen to Taylor Swift with spatulas in our hands. I had never felt more proud, not because of the job, because I'd made it through. We had made it through. People ask me now how I forgave Olivia. The truth is, I haven't. Not completely. Forgiveness, for me, isn't a switch you flip. It's a process, a decision you make over and over, some days more successfully than others. But I have let go of the hate, the bitterness, the need for answers, because carrying all that only keeps me tied to her, and I refuse to let the worst thing she did define the rest of my story. One night, I stood at Noah's door watching him sleep. His face was so peaceful, his little hand curled under his cheek, and I realized he was safe. We were safe. That's all I ever wanted, all I ever fought for. And now finally I could exhale. Spring came slowly that year, the kind of spring where the sunlight is shy, the trees take their time blooming, and healing feels like it's happening just beneath the surface. One morning, I watched Noah run through the backyard barefoot, chasing a bubble that drifted like a dream across the sky. He was laughing, really laughing, and in that moment I felt it, peace. Not the kind that comes with guarantees or perfect endings, but the kind you earn, the kind you fight for. I started journaling again, not about pain, about joy, little things. The smell of coffee in the morning, the way Noah mispronounced spaghetti as paschetti, how Alex kissed the top of my head when he thought I was still asleep. I wanted to remember that healing wasn't just about recovering from trauma. It was about making room for happiness again. One evening, Alex and I sat on the porch after Noah had gone to bed. The stars were out. Quiet filled the space between us in the best way. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small box. My heart skipped. "Before you panic," he said with a smile, "it's not that kind of box." I laughed, nerves easing. Inside was a silver charm bracelet. One charm shaped like a tiny heart, another a rocket ship, and one with the word home. "I know it's been a journey," he said. "I just wanted you to have something that reminds you how far you've come." I blinked back tears. "It's beautiful." "So are you," he said. That night I lay awake thinking about what home really meant. It wasn't a place. It was a feeling. Security, warmth, truth, boundaries, laughter, and love. Not the fairy tale kind, the real kind. Built brick by brick, choice by choice, one day a letter arrived. From Olivia. It had been a year since she tried to take Noah. Since the court ruling. Since I last heard from her. I hesitated. Then, curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Her handwriting was neat, familiar, unchanged. The letter wasn't long. She didn't make excuses. She didn't beg for forgiveness. She said she was in therapy, that she understood the depth of the pain she caused, and that she would spend the rest of her life trying to be someone better than the person who hurt her own family. She ended with this: "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Britney, but I hope someday you find peace, whether it includes me or not." I folded the letter and tucked it into my journal. Not to forget, not to reopen wounds, but because that too was part of the story. And I'd learned that ignoring the past doesn't erase it. You have to face it, feel it, and then leave it where it belongs, behind you. That summer, Noah started preschool. I thought I'd be a wreck dropping him off. But instead, I found myself standing at the window smiling. He hugged me quickly, shouted, "Love you, Mommy!" and ran off to join a group of kids with blocks. Independent, strong, safe. He was okay, and so was I. That same week, I got promoted again. Alex took me out to celebrate. Over dinner, he asked me something simple. "Do you ever think about moving?" I paused. "Like moving in together?" He nodded, cautious. "There's no pressure. I just think we make a great team. And if you're ready, I'd like to build something more permanent with you." I took a breath. Then I smiled. "Yeah, I think I'm ready." We found a small house just outside the city, big enough for Noah to have his own room, plus a little office for me. It had a garden out back, a kitchen with a window over the sink, and a porch swing that became our favorite spot. We didn't rush. We unpacked slowly, made it ours. And when Noah asked if Alex was going to live with us forever, I said, "That's the plan." He grinned. "Can we get a dog?" I laughed. "Let's see how Rocket Man handles bedtime first." Life didn't magically become perfect. There were still bills, long work days, tantrums, dishes, but the difference was I no longer carried it all alone. We shared the weight. We celebrated the small wins. We created a rhythm, one full of belly laughs, slow mornings, and late-night talks under fairy lights strung across the porch. It was everything I never knew I needed. One day, Noah came home from school with a drawing. It was us, me, him, and Alex. 3 stick figures, one holding a rocket, one with long blonde hair, and a big red heart above all of us. "What's this?" I asked. He grinned. "It's our family." I hung it on the fridge and stared at it for a long time. That simple picture said everything. We were whole, in our own way. Sometimes, I still think about the version of me sitting on the floor of my living room clutching her phone, terrified her son was gone. I wish I could go back and hold her hand. Tell her she would get through it. That one day the fear would loosen its grip. That she would laugh again. That she would love again. That she would feel safe again. I wish she could see this life now. Not perfect, but real and full of love. So if you're reading this, if someone you trusted broke your heart, if your world feels like it's crumbling, if you're clutching your child and wondering how you'll keep them safe, I see you. I was you. And I promise you this, you are stronger than you know. You are not alone. And this storm, it will pass. One step, one choice, one deep breath at a time. Because the moment you decide to choose yourself, that's the moment your healing begins.